Hello, I'm Christina, and I'm here with Martina, and we're your podcast hosts for Everyday Ordinary Extraordinary Women. We are deep divers and avid students of life and powerful facilitators for healing. In real life, I'm an intuitive healer who loves to blend massage therapy with energy work to provide customized holistic services for my clients.
And I'm a life coach specializing in women and parent empowerment, and I'm also a sound healer. And we both love to incorporate crystals, essential oils, angelic Reiki, oracle card decks as well, right? And intuitive guidance into our work.
We were inspired to create this podcast after pondering on this question. What would a world look like where we can be inspired by every person? Usually we're very quick to compare and judge ourselves and others. And when we do that, everybody's losing. Depending on my point of view, I can either feel small because I come out lacking, or arrogant and dismissive because I feel superior. Those are the only two options, and neither of those options make us feel very good. So here's our thought. Someone's everyday normal is someone else's extraordinary. Judgment comes from our first impressions. So we invite you, the listener, to go beyond your first impressions and see the magic everywhere. There's inspiration at every corner if we're willing to look. And today we're happy to welcome Elanit to the program. So go ahead, introduce yourself. Take it away.
I'm so happy to be here with the two of you. This podcast is extraordinary, and the two of you are perfect examples of ordinary, everyday, ordinary, extraordinary women. And I'm really honored to be here. Thank you so much for having me. So my name is Elanit Rabbani Rodriguez. I haven't changed it yet, but it's a mouthful. And I think it would help you to get to know me a little bit through the evolution of my name. And so I was born to immigrants, Yolanda and David, and my birth name was Elanit Ben Israeli, and they're both from Iran. My mother grew up in Israel, and my father, from adolescence until adulthood, lived in London and was educated there. So my parents were arranged to be married, and my mother was a teenager, did not finish high school, and they moved to New York shortly after marriage. And 1 year exactly to the date, April 1st, 75, they were married April 1st, 74. I was born in New York. And 2 years, 9 months later, my brother was born, Sam, and he was born with a genetic illness because my parents were cousins. And that really has a lot to do with what I experienced and how I grew up. But back to my name, I became Eleanor Beck in second grade. My father changed my name, and I had no idea. Um, he also changed my brother's name and my mother's name, so we were all now last name Beck. And throughout childhood, I was Eleanor Beck, but known as Elanit. Um, my brother's illness was really difficult because in a traditional Middle Eastern household, um, the man is generally not responsible for household or rearing children. And my father was a businessman. He was importing and exporting antique rugs. And so he was out of country for months of the year. And my mother really handled that illness, back and forth to the Bronx. Columbia Presbyterian Hospital in the 70s was no picnic for a teenage woman, for a barely out of teenagehood woman with a young daughter. And growing up was tough. It wasn't an easy ride for any of us. And, I grew up with a very strong mother figure because she had a lot on her plate and she was determined to get out of the marriage. So somehow we did. We all left. I guess I was about 10 or 11 years old by then. And we moved around to different living residents in Queens. There were like maybe 3 or 4 by the time we settled. And as I grew up, I experienced different cultural and ethnic and religious people and influences, because I was going to a very religious high school, the Yeshiva of Flatbush in Brooklyn. And there I was really being taught and indoctrinated in how to be a very religious Jew. And at home, my mother was experiencing, a sort of like a new chapter in her life, where she was dating different people and people from different ethnicities. She was dating someone from Greece for a while, for a couple of years, and then for about 10 years, somebody from India. So I was well versed in Hinduism as a teenager, but it left a lot of conflicts, identity conflicts within. I was a good student, and by the time we moved to Great Neck, I had some possibilities of going away to college. So basically, um, you know, my father didn't really give us any child support, but because my brother had this illness, um, my parents sued the doctor for malpractice, and there was a settlement, and that settlement couldn't be hidden in the divorce. And so half the money went to my mother, and she ended up buying a house in Great Neck. So that's how we ended up in Great Neck. And Edna Michelle, this name will be familiar to Martina, sold us our house. So that was the beginning of the relationship as a teenager with that brokerage. So everything sort of connects in my life in a way. Ended up at Brandeis for 4 years. And from there, I went to Bank Street College of Education. I became a teacher in special education and got married in 99, got my job at North Shore High School. I've been there since. And since that time, I also took on a career in real estate and a career in fitness. And I would say that being a yoga teacher is not a career in fitness. It's much more than that, and it means a lot more than that to me. And the things that I left out of my story would be my 3 beautiful kids. So how did they come to be? As I graduated, my coming of age was complicated and a story for another time. But as I left Brandeis, I decided very consciously and very intentionally that I have to marry, because to earn respectability and to have the type of family and status that I wanted for myself and my family, I had to do that, and I had to do it quickly. So I chose someone that I thought would fit the bill. And what always happens is all of our experiences, all of our traumas, all of our past lives come back to haunt us in our future relationships if we don't do anything about them. And the relationship was not meant to be. I did have 3 beautiful children with him that are the light of my life today. And I know we're going to come to this later, my greatest achievement, I would say, and continue to be. And from there, I had a second marriage that also wasn't meant to be. And today I'm single, and I live in a home that I call my own. And I live according to my own values. And I try to experience as much joy as I can.
So I'd just like to add that maybe it's not that they weren't meant to be, they just weren't meant to last.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think that's definitely true.
They were part of teaching you. They were part of teaching you, right? In a way,
I
like
had a yoga, I
good
had
for
a
you
yoga,
to become who you are today.
yes, absolutely. I had a yoga teacher. Her name is Raj. And she's, just a very slight Indian woman who was like one of my very first yoga teachers. This before I had my first child. And she, when I was getting a divorce, she said very much the way you both explained, maybe he was part of your life to give you your children. And that was his purpose. That was the reason. That was why he was there. Um, okay, I'll take it. I'll take that.
Well, it's interesting because, we have soul contracts with people, right? And then an event happens and it's like, okay, it's done, right? This is what needed to happen in this relationship. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Okay. You know, but it's so much in your life story that is just so powerful, really powerful, right? It's like I'm sitting here, I'm like, whoa, okay, yeah, and part of who you are for me is like you never gave up, right? It's like your first divorce was so challenging and you didn't give up. You were like, okay, okay. And yes, I understand you have children and you have to be a role model for them and you have to, but I've watched you, like on and off, right? Because this is now what we met when like 23 years ago or something like that, 22 years ago, like on and off, right? We were very close in the beginning but we would meet up every so often and I've watched you claim you,
Yeah.
which is so exciting. It's just so incredibly beautiful. So it's just beautiful to have you here today.
Thank you.
And
I want to just say to you that one of the earliest experiences that taught me about myself was that hypnobirthing experience. Having Joshua without, any type of pain medication and on Pitocin at the same time. I mean, you were my hypnobirthing coach, Martina. And, for me, having experienced that and not really like, you know, um, you know, not giving up, like you say, until the very, very end, it really taught me something about myself. And this idea of pain, this idea of pain. We have so much pain, so much pain. And and I find that I still have this pain, it's so much about letting go, and how much can I let go of? And I even ask myself that. I ask myself that every single day. What can you let go of today? Like, what is it? Is it a possession? Is it an idea? Is it some attachment to some person? Is it to an animal? What can you let go of? An expectation? Um, because at the end of the day, I really think a lot of what we experience, it can be mitigated by just letting go.
mhm. and and how powerful to let go, like choose to let go of something each day. Like it's really like lightening the load, right? In every sense. And whether it's physical, mental, or emotional, right? It's just like it's a conscious decision. It's just so cool. So cool. So Elanit,
Yes.
if we really knew you, what would we know?
If you really knew me, what would you know? Okay. I'm silly. I'm actually I come across really serious and, you know, um, like I have a mission to accomplish and very driven and all the rest of it. But, I really like potato chips a lot and ice cream. And I like to be cozy and I like to be relaxed. And I like when things are not necessarily always planned out, and happen spontaneously. And I still love a good love story, and I'm still a hopeless romantic in that way. Mm, I believe in self-care in a very like to my core. I believe in self-care. Like it's the most important thing I think that I can offer myself and that I think people can offer themselves. I think self-care really is the reason why people show up the way that they do, for the most part. And that means that for the most part, people have control over that, and that makes me feel a little bit better, like just trying to improve upon that every single day. My greatest character defect, I would say, is that I am very judgmental. I would say that I am a judgmental person, and that shows up. It rears its ugly head, in subtle ways. I think that, even though I'm aware of it and I try very much not to be so, um, I hear it in the back of my mind. And it was very interesting. Your introduction to the podcast really talks about that, and, comparing oneself to others and what would it be like to really be able to, identify the extraordinary in others, but somehow I have the need to, set a standard and to, think of things sometimes in a black and white way, and that can be very, very difficult to manage, and it could be difficult for others in my life. So that's one thing that I think, if I had to keep working on it, I would keep working on that. Um, I love yoga. Yoga is an important part of my life, and because it allows me to be creative, and I have a creative aspect to me that has yet to be discovered completely. But I think that on the mat, I get to do that a little bit. And I think that those who practice with me or under my guidance, they get to feel, my energy, my real energy, my deep energy of, um, wanting so much to feel connected to all parts of myself and to those around me. Um, and so the shapes and the movements are less important than that energy that I think comes through. So yoga is like really important. It will never stop being an important part of my life. It's a practice that heals and sustains me. I love my dogs. My dogs are, like um part of my, I guess, yoga practice, even you could say, part of my healing practice, taking care of them. And, I've known four dogs so far in my life, and two of them are no longer with us, but, they're also different from each other, and they have so many lessons for us, as humans to grow from. And, um, that's something I've come to learn in my adulthood. I need physical touch is something that is important in my life. And I have I have to learn to live without for most of the time. And that's part of the process of letting go. So when I need the physical touch, I do book a massage. That's okay. I'll do that. Or I'll ask for a hug. This is new for me. I would not have done things like that before. Um, so I love my kids more than anything that there is in this world. And the way that I show that is, by letting them go. And, my kids are all in different places now, doing different things. And I'm so proud of them, and I'm right behind them. And I think it's going to be important for me to keep on letting go as time goes on, because they're going to keep on doing what they're going to do, and some of those things I'm going to be able to see very quickly in my judgmental way, that are not going to go in the right direction. But we all get a chance at it, right? We all get a chance to
say
do
you
it.
get to practice and practice and practice and practice some more.
There you go.
Mm.
So those are the things that materialistic things are not important to me as they once were. I'll tell you, anything I get anyway is in danger of being torn apart by Bruno. So there's not anything that I really, hold on to too much in terms of materialistic. Financial independence is a super, super important part of my life. I think women need to have their own money, and they need to be able to have control over their own money. It's a lesson I've learned both from my mother and from my own experience, my own first divorce. Yeah, I think that covers a lot, but maybe we'll get to other things.
Yeah. So we now know what fills you up and the core themes. But tell me, what do you think your superpower is?
Yeah, that one, I think I was thinking about it because I think that my superpower is in the teaching. So it's not about teaching content, any particular subject or curriculum, or even yoga practice. Those who have been in my company have said that I'm a great motivator, because I have such a drive and I have such a will to, and I'm not saying I'm good at anything. I'm just saying I go for it, and that I think is inspiring to others and gives them sort of the fire that they need in their belly to go for it too, whatever it is. Um, you know, part of, I think, the reason why the second marriage didn't work out is because I did inspire that. I do think that I inspired that uh, desire to go for it, to go for whatever it is, But when the obstacles are too great within, I think people become conflicted. They can either move in the direction of change and transformation, um, or they will remain stagnant. They will have to do something. They will have to leave the situation that is so frustrating to them, or destroy whatever it is that's driving that frustration. And so I think that really sums up the dynamic of my second marriage. Though I really loved the person, and I felt more than anything that I wanted to motivate and change, the direction of their life. And that's a mistake. I've learned that to be a huge mistake. Part of the practice of letting go is also letting go of the idea that that is even a possibility. But if you ask me what my superpower is, if people choose to be in my company and choose to be part of my journey, they won't be able to not see that I push every single day, and I have a certain rhythm and practice that guides my existence. So that's true. I learned that. That wasn't me to begin with. I learned that from my mother. She survived things that I think would be very difficult for most. And she emerged somebody that I really look up to in a lot of ways. And there are things about her also that I don't look up to. But that part of her that is so much a survivor, and more than a survivor, someone who goes for it without being afraid, I got that one. I got that one from her. Yeah.
And that's a powerful inspiration to have in your corner for sure. Yeah. I love that. I love that.
I'm not saying I always succeed, like, I fail.
But that's the
I
point,
often
right?
do.
Like, to not be attached to winning or losing or failing. Like, it's just to try, go for it, and if it doesn't work out, you learn something, and then you try again, right? Or you don't. You learn that this is not for you, but at least you tried, and you know better next time.
Yes. Yes. And I
Well,
would,
and the trying, right? What was it recently they were talking about? You only regret the chances you did not take, right? It's not whether you succeed or not is irrelevant. It's like what you regret is not having taken the actions to move forward. So it's, beautiful.
you also learn in the process, like, one failure, I would say, was to establish a business during, COVID. And I really wanted so much to develop myself as a yoga teacher to the point where I could have my own thriving yoga business. And I realized first of all, it was a failure for a lot of reasons, but what I realized was in the process was that I really didn't want that. I didn't want the part that was business to be mixed with the part that was yoga. I wanted a situation where I could be of service. I could practice with people who wanted to practice, um, and not be constrained by the other parts of managing a business. So working at a gym is perfect for me because I go in, I don't have to carry my own insurance. People come in, they have their own, they sign off. Um, it's a beautiful studio that I work in. I have my time, the maintenance is done, the equipment is there. People show up ready and willing and wanting to be guided because they're choosing it, they're choosing to be there for my class for that time. And so that really suits me in terms of yoga. And I would have not learned that had I not tried to establish a business. So that's not to say that I don't want a business. So, these are all thoughts now in my mind. I happen to be in a period of thinking ahead and wanting to discover more, wanting the next chapter to offer me maybe a new possibility, but it won't be in the yoga business. I'll tell you that much.
I love that. I love, the more you get clear about what you don't want, the more you get clear about what you do want, right? And so that's still, you still learn something valuable and you get to move forward with that information. So yay. My favorite story about failures and successes is 7 Up, the soda. He had 6 other names before, just names, but not even changing the product. But the first name failed, the second name failed. He was like, seventh name, 7's Up. Okay. And that one stuck and so, you know, that's really about not fail. Like he just had that was his spirit, right? I'm gonna try it again and again and again. And seventh time it finally stuck and so
That's a cool story. I had no idea.
yeah.
Actually,
That's a really cool story. Of course, Christina, you would know these stories.
so cool.
Of course you would. So, Elanit, tell us about the time you took a chance for love. And it might be romantic, it might not be romantic. When did you take a chance for love?
Yeah, I've taken a lot of romantic chances for love. Um, but I think I'm going to talk about because it's relevant now for me. I really don't want to talk about the romantic, the men, that I took a chance for because I definitely did, and in different ways. But I think this divorce was a huge chance because for love of self. And I'll say, you know, yeah, Martina, when I left my second marriage, um, it was a shanda. It was like I was really, I fell for the Hispanic man at the bagel store, and I I had a toddler, and it was a real, it was risky business what I did, and I left it all behind to start this new relationship. So there is no question that I loved him and that I wanted very much the relationship to last. So Christina, for you, we got together in 2007 and we divorced. We signed papers in 2023. So it was really a long relationship. It had a short break, 6 months. And, Ray really was somebody that I looked to for support. I had 3 little kids. I was leaving a marriage. I was doing a lot of moving myself. That's a whole other story. And I was struggling financially. And I was working like several jobs and, just doing what I had to do. And he was there for it. He was there for it. And so I turned a blind eye to things that were part of his character defects, namely drinking and abusive behavior. Okay, so those are things that I turned a blind eye to because they happened, but the other side was so important to me, and being alone was just not an option. Being alone was not an option. It scared me more than anything else in the whole world. And I'll tell you, it's something I do still, it's not a fear anymore, but it is a struggle. So right about the time that I took a chance on another really important love, yoga, and becoming a yoga teacher, I kind of started to feel that something was changing also in the relationship. And I think he was feeling it too. And a lot of things happened, and it became harder and harder to turn the blind eye, harder and harder. And finally, things really devolved to a point where it became impossible to turn a blind eye and to sweep it under the rug. And I had to really make the decision to either end the relationship or detach from it emotionally and in other ways, detach from the person and remain in the relationship for whatever it's worth. And I probably don't have to tell you, I might. For me, it was hard to imagine like my 50s, now starting again after 2 failed marriages. Children have gone, they've left the home, and I'm approaching retirement, and not so soon, but soon enough. What would become of me? How would I live? But I decided that I love myself enough, and I took a chance on loving myself enough to believe that God had something else in store for me, and that my peace, just feeling safe and feeling like there's not a Jekyll and Hyde living in my house, uh, and that I deserve a companion that will be will love himself enough to go and get some help, improve himself so that he can be a worthy companion. Notice I'm not talking about money. I'm not talking about importance or status or anything or religion. I'm talking about mental health is what I'm talking about, and self-love. And one of us, me, decided that I'm important enough to get there. And I did the work. I did it. I worked so hard. And then it got to the point where I was like, if I don't do this, what will be? So, and it took a lot. It really did. I had to find the support that I needed from group and from therapists and from friends. And then I had to really shut down my emotion, put one foot in front of the next. And I have to say, it was really terrifying and difficult, more than the first time. Even though the first time I suffered a lot. I suffered a lot of consequence for that, because it wasn't that I didn't love the man. I do, and I still do, I will always. But it's that I wouldn't tolerate, and I would never again be in a situation that I found myself in. End of the story.
Yeah, well, it's that you love them so much, right? That you can't watch them do that to themselves. Like, it's hard to watch someone when they're hurting, and when they're hurting themselves, then they're hurting everyone around them too. And that's not a healthy place for you to be in either. So, this is my favorite answer to this question when people are like, me, I took a chance on me, self-love. Yes.
I'll say also in group, I've learned, and also from other people that have experienced, when you let them go, sometimes that's the thing they need. That's what happens. Never do for an alcoholic what they can do for themselves. I've learned that.
We
Yes.
had one woman come on, and she said that she was at the point, she was like, she left, and that was the point he needed to turn around.
Yeah.
He literally needed her to leave. That was his wake-up call, right? It's like, okay, wow, okay, no. And it's really like the example you set for everyone, for your children, right? For every person you meet, in putting yourself first. It's just such a gift, such an incredible gift. It's beautiful. It's so, so beautiful. So let's go to a very much lighter topic. So tell us a funny, silly, or embarrassing story.
Okay, but it's gonna be it's funny, but it's funny. But I mean, I don't have that many funny stories. So my second dog, Charlie, oh, he was very sick, and he needed to be put down. We decided that we would do it in our house. We would do it in the house. He took a turn for the worse very suddenly. It was very beautiful. The doctor came to the house, and we all sat around, and my son was sitting on the couch, and I was sitting with Charlie, and I was crying, oh Charlie, Charlie. And all of a sudden, instead of Charlie, Josh came out, my son's name. My son's crying over there. He starts like, Mom, I'm right here. And it was like this moment of such grief and like terror, that this, the moment of truth. And I call out my son's name rather. I mean, I think it's kind of funny. It's kind of dark, but it's funny.
Well, I guess it happened to all of us at some point in some shape, right? So it's yeah.
You call out the wrong man's name. You call out the wrong boy's name.
It also speaks to how much we love our pets, right? That you love them like your children. Like, yeah.
But he was like Mom, I'm sitting right here. Yeah, so yeah.
Cute, really cute. So if you had a magic wand and could give people any quality, what would you give them and why?
Something I've learned from Martina, actually. So the judgmental thing is, it's important to be able to work on that, but also if you're not judgmental, like the good side of being judgmental is that you have a sense of what you like and what you don't like. You're aware of what your standard is. Okay. But I think if I had like a magic wand, I would say directness. I think honesty and directness. If people could just speak their mind, and I say that to myself also all the time, like just say it as it is. You're not sparing anyone anything by dancing around and doing all that, negotiating and whatever. Just say what you want, say it like you want, say it like you mean it. And then, I would want other people to do the same. It really hurts so much when the people that we love, are not honest with us, or don't, or hide things from us, or are not direct to, because what is out in the open can be dealt with. Anything that's hidden, there's no way to deal with it. And it becomes like a festering sore, and there's nothing that so that would be it. And I know peace and love, and You know, those butterfly things would be a better
All that other
answer.
stuff, yeah.
But that's where I'm at. Direct honesty.
You know, we would have to cut out the people pleasing, right? And just really show ourselves,
I remember,
which is really cool, because they say authenticity actually has a higher vibration than love, right? So if we could really all be direct and true, how cool is that? Like, what would that provide on this planet?
I love that. Authenticity has a higher vibration than love. Today, honestly, I don't think that it's a choice anymore. You know, I do not think that I can be anything but authentic. You know, if I need my time, leave me alone. If I, want to walk my dog with an audiobook in hand, that's what's happening.
If I want to eat ice cream for breakfast, then so be it.
Chased by barbecue chips, that's totally okay. Um, yeah, I definitely agree. And it's a lesson that I've learned from the strongest women in my life, I think. And it's something I need to keep, we need to keep working on these things. They don't just, magically happen, and then it doesn't magically stay that way always. You just have to keep working on it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's harder, sometimes it's easier.
And then there's the next level, and there's the next level, and then there's the next level.
I don't know.
So, last question, Elanit.
Sure.
What are you most proud of? Like, what do you consider your biggest accomplishment?
So this is a great question. Last question. I really want to talk about my kids because, I think for a long time I was very hard on myself because I didn't want them to have the experience of a broken home and then everything that followed from there. But when I look at the evidence before me, when I look at them as people, I see that they've turned out to be really good people, like kind-hearted, good people, and also very strong people in the world. And I'm proud of that. It's not that their accomplishments are incredible also, but um, they are, as you say, authentic. Um, my son is who he is. He's not going to apologize for anything. And he looks for ways to connect the best way that he can with me and others, but not apologizing for who he is as a person, and that makes me feel very proud. Um, I think that he learned that a little bit, from me, um, and my example and the love that I gave him, the acceptance that I gave him all of his life from the time that he was born. He was really someone that I felt, and he gave me a hard time. Don't think he didn't. He did. But like I feel that he came out with a very strong foundation to now face life's challenges and be the person that he's supposed to be and love the people that he's supposed to love, without being apologetic. Same with my daughters. My daughters are finding their way. My eldest daughter, Emma, went through a really hard time in high school and in the beginning of college. And I have to say that it was my sincere, like it was my number one mission to be there for her, and but just hold space as much as I could for all the pain, all the disappointment, all the hurt, all the betrayal, the rejection, the insecurities, the anxiety, everything. And I did that. I did that for it was walking with her. It was sitting with her. It was coming home during my lunch hour to make sure that she's eaten and taken care of sometimes, making sure, like, really basic things for a while until she came back. And now she's stronger than ever. She's going to be, she just got into grad school for speech and language pathology, and she's waiting on a few more acceptances to grad school. And she's so independent and strong and kind, and she's got such a good head on her shoulders. So I'm really, really proud. And my middle daughter is now starting to really flower also. She talks about wanting to have her own voice and finding her passion and not settling for, law school just because it's the way that people think she should go. Her parents think she wants to explore, and she has the confidence to do it. So I can't wait to see, and I feel like this is a very exciting time for me because I get to be a witness to what I invested in, this whole time with my whole self, and I no longer believe the lies that were the gaslighting, the lies that, I wasn't a good mother, that I didn't set a good example, that I was in some ways hurting my children by doing the things that I needed to do in my life. I see now that taking those chances and even those detours and those difficult things have made them see, that I can be resilient, and that, it can lead to a better understanding. I'm really hoping that this next chapter in life is one that is on my terms, Yeah.
It will be because of who you are. So it's like, it's so beautiful what you're sharing, because it's like we have this image of children being damaged because of divorce. It's like, no, that's just part of what they came here to learn to become the people that they are, right? The resilience and the power inside of that, and your love guiding them through all of that. It's just really remarkable. It's so, so beautiful. So, Elanit, you teach classes. Do you want to tell our listeners about that? Do you want to tell us how they can find you?
Sure. So I'm no longer really teaching privately. I teach at Equinox. So I teach in the Great Neck Equinox, the Roslyn Equinox, and Woodbury. And I'm only teaching 3 classes a week. If anybody is interested in taking a class, I have many guest passes, and I'm happy to share them so that, they can come and do my class or somebody else's class, totally fine. But as far as that's concerned, I think the classes are, my teacher once told me that we practice for our students, we teach for ourselves, so it's a selfish act, this teaching yoga. It holds me accountable. It gives me so, so much. And whoever wants to come, I definitely welcome. I definitely welcome them.
Beautiful. And
Yeah.
that's on Long Island in New York.
Yes.
Just to make that clear.
Yes. The only place on earth.
Of course, the only place on earth.
The only place on earth.
So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me and giving me an opportunity to come out of my shell a little bit.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Thank you for showing us your heart, your power, your, resilience actually is the word that wants to be said. So, and for all of you out there, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. If you love this, please leave us a review. Please share. And please always remember that you are extraordinary. You rock. Until next time, have a wonderful day.
Bye for now. And Elanit, you get to take it away.
Thank you so much. Take care. Be well. Bye.